Good afternoon, everybody. Today, I am pleased to announce that we are tabling new legislation to implement rebates to make life more affordable for millions of hardworking Albertans. We know many people have seen higher than normal energy costs over the past few months. This is due to a number of factors, including the Liberal NDP Alliance's punishing carbon tax, which hurts Canadians for simply heating their homes. This is in addition to the global pressures on commodities like natural gas that we're seeing from geopolitical events like Russia's war in Ukraine. Now, we know that these increased costs are affecting the well-being of Albertans, and that's why Alberta's government is taking action. We're providing short-term relief while creating long-term improvements that our province needs. In early March, Premier Kenney and I announced that a new electricity rebate was being developed to support hard-working families, farmers and businesses who saw high bills last winter. We also announced a natural gas rebate program in Budget 2022 that will protect Albertans from experiencing a gas price crisis like what is being seen across Europe right now, and to try and prevent that from coming here next winter. We want to implement these rebates as soon as possible. However, new legislation was necessary to enable Alberta Energy to legally put these programs into action and get the rebates into the pockets of Albertans in the most fiscally responsible way. That is why today I will introduce Bill 18, the Utility Commodity Rebate Act. The bill is specifically designed to enable the electricity and natural gas rebates and provide real relief to Albertans in a number of important ways. First, Bill 18 follows through on our commitment to provide support to Albertans in these challenging times. Secondly, it allows us to move forward on electricity prices and rebates to address the high electricity prices that we've seen this past winter. This legislation is a necessary step to let us provide $50 per month for 3 consecutive months for a total of $150 to more than 1.9 million residences, farms, and small businesses. And I want to be frank, this is a significant rebate coming to over 1.9 million residences, farms, and small business. Unlike the NDP's rate cap, which only applied to around half of electricity customers who were on the regulated rate option, and only applied to the energy portion of your bills, which is about 40% of your bill. Now, this $150 rebate will reach far more Albertans and provide much more meaningful relief to Albertans as well. In terms of actual spending, and nearly tripling the size of the NDP rate cap program over just 3 months. And so just to put it in perspective, we're budgeting $280 million over 3 months. The NDP support paid out $108 million in support over 2 years. This is in addition to the long-term affordability work that we are also pursuing, which I will touch upon in a moment. The third outcome of Bill 18 is it will allow Alberta's government to quickly respond to market changes in the marketplace. It goes without saying that we are eager to get these rebates implemented and onto Albertans' bills as soon as utility retailers can do so. That is why, once this legislation is passed, the necessary new regulations will be put in place under the Act to enable both rebates. We will also work with utilities and regulators to apply the electricity rebate directly to eligible consumers' bills starting this summer. For too long, previous governments have pursued short-sighted or flawed policies. We are not making that same mistake. We're providing customer relief and aggressively pursuing all long-term options to keep utility costs in check. You will see this strategy play out when we table additional electricity legislation in the coming weeks aimed at increasing competition, decreasing system costs, and modernizing Alberta's electricity system. We also continue to support the fastest growing renewable energy sector in Canada as our market-focused approach is working. It's driving more of this low-cost generation and increasing competition over the coming years. Nearly 50 new projects are currently underway, bringing 4,000 megawatts of new generation online. Much of it is renewable, all of which will benefit Albertans. We are doing the hard but necessary and overdue work to enable more clean technology and address long-term distribution planning needs. This will ultimately make our electricity more affordable and reliable, which is far more to protect Alberta ratepayers than our previous government has ever done. In fact, we see many of the previous government's policies as directly increasing the cost of delivered utilities to consumers. The NDP broke the system, and we're going to fix it. Today is an important step in this journey. If passed, this bill and the rebate program that it can enable will help sustain Alberta's economic recovery and support families, farms, and small business as our economy continues to grow and diversify. We all pay utility bills. Many of us, myself included, own or have owned or manage businesses. We all know how much electricity costs and gas costs can eat into the family budget and the bottom line, especially over the past few months of high prices. Bill 18 aims to lighten the financial burden that families, farms, and small businesses have recently had to face. It is a step forward for the province and will bring real relief to Albertans while we do the long-term work that's needed for a brighter and better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We have time for some questions now, and we'll start with in the room. If you could please state your name and outlet.
Sure, it's Shaylan Skalski with CTV News. Thank you so much for taking my question. I wanted to ask about a recent report that was published at the University of Calgary School of Public Policy. It's citing that energy company markups and profits, not the carbon tax, are actually to blame for Alberta's higher energy prices over the course of 2020-2021. What is your reaction to that?
Well, and in fact, it's not saying the carbon tax is not to blame. It acknowledges that there's a contribution of the carbon tax or tier to that. It also acknowledges that the fees and the administration take up about 60% of people's bills, and that is also contributing to the higher costs. And yes, the report also recognizes that we just came through a period of unprecedented demand on the electricity system, and this contributed to a spike in prices.
Yeah, I guess looking at those breakdowns, less than 1% was the carbon tax, and 2/3 was energy profits. But the authors of that report...
Sorry, but if you look over the last 10 years, actually the transmission and distribution have contributed even more significantly to the increase in those bills. But the point is valid. We did see an increase to the energy portion, which is about 40% of people's bills.
Okay, just as a follow-up, energy economists behind that report say there are a number of things that government could consider in terms of looking at longer-term contracts that companies would have to be forced to sign, mandated, as well as controls over how much of the market share that they could make up. Are those things that the government would be looking at to lower the price for Albertans?
I can assure you that every conversation that I have with the Premier and Cabinet on electricity starts and finishes with affordability and how could we make life cheaper for all Albertans. Going back to, you mentioned the Competition Bureau, it allows for 35% market share. And in fact, in our market, we only allow for 30% market share. And in fact, we don't have any provider that is providing more than 25% market share. So market share isn't the issue. The issue is we need more competition and more choice for customers. And we know as we increase consumer choice, that will drive prices down.
Thank you. And we'll move to the phones now. Please state your name and outlet and keep it to one and a follow-up, please.
Chris Vargo, Calgary Herald.
Yes, Minister, can you say what month should consumers expect that they will see the gas rebate take effect, and what month will they begin to see the power rebate?
Well, the power rebate will be largely dependent on how long it takes the utility retailers to be able to adjust their billing systems. We are encouraging the retailers to get this onto people's bills as soon as possible. I'm hopeful that that will be June. For some retailers, it may go into July, but we're asking them to help us turn this around as quickly as possible. And as we've announced previously for the natural gas rebate, it was intended to help protect Albertans from a European-style energy crisis, and the time frame that we had was October 1st to March 31st. But as you know, the price of electricity due to geopolitical events has certainly been increasing, and we're monitoring that closely. And we haven't written the regulation for this yet, but as we write the regulation, I'll be able to provide more information on those time frames.
Do you follow up, Chris?
Yeah, you said electricity prices. I'm assuming you meant natural gas prices, but going back to that point, we're already got natural gas prices over the $6.50 threshold. So is your intention to provide some sort of relief to consumers through the summer months if those prices are higher than that? And as an additional question, are you intending to cap the benefits at some price above $6.50, so whether it's $8 or $9.
All great questions, and when we write the regulation, I can provide that to you. We're having those conversations now, and those discussions are happening. So as soon as those regulations are complete, we will absolutely get that information to you.
Thanks, Chris. Operator, can you put the next caller, please?
Janet French, CBC.
Hi, Minister Nally. Hopefully you can hear me. First question is about the speed. I mean, there's been a lot of talk in your remarks and also in the technical briefing about getting these rebates out to consumers as fast as possible. But yet you're saying we have to pass legislation and write regulations first. Why not come up with another method to get this electricity and natural gas rebate cash into the hands of Albertans while simultaneously working on legislation that could help with future rebates?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad that you asked that. We have legislation in place right now that actually prevents us from doing this. And so we have to repeal the Natural Gas Price Protection Act. So unfortunately, the legislative process is what it is, but I can assure you that the drafters and everybody is aware of the time constraints, and we are committed to turning this around as quickly as we can, and we're asking the utility providers to help us do the same, because we need to get this relief into the hands of Albertans as soon as possible. But we do recognize there is a legislative process here.
Do you have a follow-up, Janet?
I do. Just to follow up on Chris Barco's question, both Mr. Taylor—
Sorry, Janet, you're a bit muffled. Could you repeat that, please?
Sure. How's the sound now?
That's better.
Okay. Both the Premier and Minister Taves have hinted that these natural gas rebates could come sooner to Albertans if the price surged above $6.50. As Chris mentioned, it is above $6.50 per gigajoule. So are you now insisting that Albertans will wait until October? When you say you're monitoring the prices in the market, what does that mean?
Well, the prices went over $7 on Friday, and now they're below $6.50 again today. So I can only tell you, until we land on those regulations, I can't provide more clarity. But as soon as we complete those regulations, and we'll be able to answer those questions for you completely.
Thanks, Janet. Operator, can you put to the next call, please?
Catherine Zergowski, Alberta Today.
Well, I'm wondering why, again, to follow up on Janet's question, why not bring that gas rebate in before October? I'm still not clear on why it's not coming in until October.
Well, that was the decision that we made at the time, because at the time this decision was made, gas was certainly not in the $6 area like it is now, and we know that natural gas consumption is the highest during the winter months. So we wanted to provide a program that covered the winter months to provide real support to Albertans. What we're seeing now of this high prices in April is unprecedented. It's related to the geopolitical events that we're seeing with the war in Ukraine. And so that's why we're having those conversations, to see if something needs to be done.
Thanks, Catherine. Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, and you mentioned that you believe that competition will bring down the cost for consumers, but we have a very competitive market already, and companies are doing what is, I guess, their right to do, and they're giving out record dividends. We're seeing very profitable numbers on their balance sheet. So what makes you think that the market is going to be bringing down costs when we already have a very competitive market and costs are as high as they are?
One of the reasons that we saw these unprecedented prices was because the unprecedented demand that we saw on electricity supply in the last 12 months. And of course, this also coincided at the same time as an unprecedented pandemic. And so we saw that all of those pressures had an upward pressure on prices, and we saw that. But we know that long term, the path forward for lower prices is through more choice and increased competition. And I should add that we actually saw record demands 3 times over the last year on electricity demand in this province. And so that's why we saw that unprecedented prices. I can tell you that we continue to monitor the forecast for electricity, and we are confident that we have another 50 projects that will be coming online, and they're at various stages of approval and construction, and they will bring 4,000 megawatts of new generation online, and that will also help us to lower prices. In addition to that, we're bringing some electricity forward to modernize the electricity grid, things that will add storage as well as more supply to the marketplace through self-supply with export, and all of that will contribute to more choice for consumers. So we're confident that we're able to bring in these measures to help bring down prices.
That's the last question, so we'll wrap up there today. Thank you, everyone.